Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Today, we're picking back up. It is Wednesday. So, we are continuing our HBR's guide to beating burnout. And we're going to be talking about habitual compassion. But before I go ahead, good morning. I am Dr. Shanae of SP Consulting Group. I am your organizational development psychologist as well as your psychotherapist, senior executive wellness coach here in downtown Los Angeles, where we focus on bringing visions to life through burnout prevention. This is our campaign. I keep saying it in a different way, but it all leads to true work-life balance and where we really come to a place where we are really looking at how stress is getting in the way of people's maximum productivity, maximum quality in their life. Really that blurred space of that blurred space of work life, home life. And good morning, good morning. Whoever joined me and said good morning on Facebook, um, let me know who you are, where you're joining from, because the we're using StreamYard, so it only shows up as Facebook user. I'm going to show you. Yeah, good morning, good morning. I hope you got your coffee. Mine is still very hot. Ooh. Hey, Joyce, how are you? Good morning. Yeah, so we're going to be picking up again with our guide to beating burnout, and we're going to be looking at the segment that focuses right now on excessive, and I'd even say habitual compassion. And I want to say that because there's, just like with anything, there's two sides to the story. There is how much um, compassion can help you, but also how much compassion can become compassion fatigue. And I want to say that specifically as it pertains to how I had actually gotten to the point of compassion fatigue, being in the mental health field, being someone who looks at people from the point of empathy in order to see where they are, then help them where they are, and then bring them to a place where they are absolutely feeling more balanced, feeling more at peace. And that's really what I needed along my journey, right? Julia, you say, yep, cough in your hand and it's warm. I know, right? Like it's warming my hands up. All right, so we're going to review this, but when I logged in, what I was doing was pulling up what does the Bible have to say. I always have to ask, what does the Bible have to say about it? Because there has been so much in life and like so much in life happening, so much that people have gotten to this place where they're looking for more, and that more they're realizing is will come and is coming from our source, from our creator, from the creator of the universe. And my creator, my source is God. So I go to the Bible just from what has worked for me, and it always resonates in that space of leadership. Always, always. Think about it, servant leadership. Look at the ministry of Jesus. That's servant leadership. Okay. So let me go here really quick and then we're going to jump right in. Just let me know how you're doing. We are going to do our deep breathing in just a second. Like I said, I wanted to really get in this place of calm and peace. And I want you to practice that with me because if you wake up anxious, it's going to be hard to slow it down and pull it back. Right. So let's see. Compassion in the Bible. First thing that pops up. A lot of people are looking at it. So let me say this before we read this. When we are doing our deep breathing, we are refueling the oxygen to our prefrontal cortex, which when you are in a constant state of stress, it is no longer wired to so much fuel that part of your brain as opposed to fuel the parasympathetic nervous system that's in your amygdala, which is where the stress hormones sort of congregate and they get down, right? So that means a lot of your executive functioning, your ability to focus, memory recall. And I share this often. Um, but I have to remind you because memory recall is impacted when you're stressed and burned out, right? So let's go ahead and take some deep breaths to really recharge our morning beyond what the coffee may be doing in us already, okay? So take a deep breath. We're going to do 4, 4, 6. So take a deep breath in, hold, release. Let's do that again. Take a deep breath in, all right. If you want to do that again, you can definitely do it again. I urge you to learn how to do it without calling attention because then you can actually do this in a meeting. You can do this when you're standing in line, when you're in traffic. You can be able to do these deep breathing techniques and really find yourself in a almost instant state of rest and calm. And I was sharing with my Facebook group, like, put your hands to your heart when you do it. Reconnect with yourself. Reconnect with the Spirit of God that may be in you, the power that may be in you to calm yourself, to reset your mind, okay? So, this is what the Bible says about compassion. It says, be kind, and I don't know what version this is. I just like the first one that came up, so I didn't bother doing any digging. But it says, be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other just as Christ, God, forgave you. And that's from Ephesians 4 and 32. Um, 1 Peter 3 and 8 is another well known Bible verses in regards to compassion. And it's be like minded, being like minded to me, and I'm feeling an urge to stop here for a second. Being like minded is being able to understand what someone else is feeling, what someone else's experiences may be. That is empathy. Okay, so it says be like minded, be sympathetic. See, it separates that. Love one another, be compassionate and humble. We can practice compassion every day. And HBR's Guide to Beating Burnout, this particular chapter that we're reviewing today, if you don't have your book, this is what it looks like. If you want to purchase it, that's fine. I, again, am not, you know, what do they call it? I'm not getting commission. I'm not commissioned to share this. The reason why I selected this particular body of work is because I was an expert reviewer on it when it was still in its manuscript stage to really go through and make sure that there's a diverse voice, there is a diversity and inclusiveness of women and our struggles, things that we may do. And I'm so grateful for this chapter. It is chapter 5, Making Compassion a Habit. And it's by Annie McKee and Candy Waynes. And I will give you their very brief bio. Um, It says Annie McKee is a senior fellow at the University of Pennsylvania Graduate School of Education, and the director of the Penn CLO Executive Doctoral Program. She's the author of How to Be Happy at Work and a co-author of Primal Leadership, Resonant Leadership, and Becoming a Resonant Leader. Candy Waynes is a senior fellow at the University of Pennsylvania Graduate School of Education, also in the Penn CLO Executive Doctoral Program, and director of the Penn's Masters in Medical Education Program. She is an executive coach, just like myself, a national speaker and organizational change consultant, which is similar in effect of me having my doctorate in organizational development psychology, as I mentioned earlier. So let's get into it. It starts out by talking about how sick and tired how sick and tired and ridiculous it can be to have to deal with some of the nuances at work. How ridiculous do y'all like be honest? Are there times when you're working with people, whether it's leading your team, whether it's leading contractors, because I am mindful of those that are solopreneurs and entrepreneurs, as well as executives, and you just get some of the stuff is just out of control. It's just stupid, especially with so many more people being stressed out. You end up finding that the level of stupidity is a bit in overflow. Let's just say that. Okay. But you know what? Stress is the enemy a lot of times. Stress, burnout is the enemy a lot of times. In that place of burnout, there's not peace, there's not joy, there's not happiness, there's not compassion, you know? And when it's all said and done, we know for sure at this point, if we didn't know it before, life is too short. Life is too short. We can't be in this place where we are just in this proverbial cycle. And this cycle is stress. Then stepping back, let me deal with this. Let me work more hours. Let me get into this place where if I just close my door, if I just isolate myself, I can get all this stuff done. And because you're isolated and because you're working more hours and because in your mind you just aren't turning off, you get to this place where you are feeling stuck, getting deeper and deeper and deeper into burnout. And a lot of the reasons why stress is on the rise, I actually went on a live last night. So check that replay. Um, I went on a live last night talking about a Forbes article that was specifically about women in work, women at work in 2022, and how 94% of the women surveyed, and it was like 5,000 women across 10 countries that were recently surveyed, and 93% of them realized that their burnout was coming from the fact that they didn't even want to ask for a change and a modification in their work. So we're working more and more and more. The lines of work and life completely blurred, if like non-existent. And it becomes this place where we're in this toxic cycle that we're not realizing that we're in. And then we get to the point of being in survival mode, which again, we're not even paying attention from a biological chemical standpoint. We're not really paying attention to what's in front of us. We are in survival mode, not realizing that that place is where burnout lives, thrives, and unfortunately leads to a lot of our diagnosable conditions. As a psychotherapist, I have literally worked with people that it all started out with stress overload. I think I can do this myself. I think I can do this. And it just builds, 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 builds. You know the story. But this is the thing. Here's the good news. Some people don't get burned out. Did you know that? Some people don't get burned out. They continue to thrive despite the storms that are going on around them. And I think because they figured out that there's an eye in the storm. I would have to say the past few years, I figured out how to find myself back to the eye of the storm. And even though there's stressors and a lot of things, I'll initially feel that angst that comes up, but I've learned to let it finish, get it up out of me. What can I do about it? And if not, okay, let's move on. Let's pray about it. In this particular chapter, it says they did a study that confirms that 91% of the study's executives, and this is specifically they studied healthcare executives, that they describe themselves as expressing empathy as a way to allow them to stay the course in that field, and I can attest to that. I had climbed to the level of having so I'm in Greater Los Angeles, the Greater Los Angeles healthcare system, looking at mental health recovery, looking at addiction recovery. So mental health rehabilitation and recovery systems for all of Greater Los Angeles. And one of the things that kept me going was an empathy and an understanding for what was at hand. So expressing empathy produces almost like a calming effect. So just like I was saying, that usually that cortisol, that stress hormone, produces this anxiety in the parasympathetic system. There's also, they say, a good parasympathetic nervous system that can be reversed through compassion. Okay. So how do you practice compassion? Let's get to that. Because we don't be on here long. Not in the mornings. Um, how do you practice compassion? Well, first of all, let's start with us. Let's have self-compassion. Let us say, hey, wait a minute, this is enough. I'm getting overwhelmed. I can recognize through self-awareness, through what we can put under the umbrella of emotional intelligence. I can first seek to understand myself, and that what I'm experiencing is either emotionally, physically, or intellectually heavy. There's information overload. There are emotional situations where we're looking at the state of affairs in the world, let alone the things that are going on in our home. Okay. So then it's after having and practicing self compassion with ourselves, or recognizing that we need to show ourselves compassion, then we are at the point of caring for ourselves. So recognize it, almost in that vein of be it, understand like I am to be acknowledged, then do it. Then start caring for yourself, start taking breaks, start shutting down at a certain time. I just love it when I can get a positive response from someone, like coaching clients. Usually I'll see them after they're done with work, but they're still, and I see, how you can see the screen of me looking at you. I see them working while we're talking, and I said, okay, you can stop multitasking right now. This time is for you. You can stop. And by the time we get to the end of our session, I'm in that place where I'm like, okay, so what time you off work? Because it's already off work hours, right? Yes, yes. We all need to learn it. We all need to not only learn it, but remind ourselves, especially when different projects come up. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, we all need to learn it. And that's the good thing. That's where you insert here compassion. We all have to learn how to take these breaks, right? Yeah, I used to call myself the multi, what did I call myself? The master multitasker. Didn't sit still for nothing. That didn't help me. It just took me more into burnout. So the next part of that is acting to help yourself. So even though I already said caring for yourself, we're going to take it out of the internal and we're going to bring it to life in the external. So, one, two, three. One is recognize, be self aware, have compassion, but don't just have compassion, care about yourself and say, I shouldn't even be treating my friend this way. My friend is overworked and tired. Get yourself in that place where you realize, if my inner critic keep getting me to work, I'm gonna override that system and say, I need to sit down. I need to sit down, right? And as I pulled up my mug, it was even making sure you have the courage to stop. Make sure you have the courage to stop, right? So here are two practical ways to practice self-compassion according to these authors, and I concur. And I'm going to go through these quickly. Then I'm going to say a little prayer at the end. I ain't going to be before you long. Um, the first one is curb the urge to overwork. Curb the urge to overwork. It's not worth it, because what happens when you overwork, like I said, you end up in this cycle. You do more, you rarely fix the problem, and essentially you end up making things worse. Why? Because we are manufacturing our own stress. Yep, that's what we're doing. We're manufacturing our own stress. We shut down, like I said, and I gave you that example. You shut down the door inside of you to people. You like, I got to disconnect for a second. Then we're thinking if we can just get away, if we can at least just do our job and get caught up. That's in our brain too. I just got to get caught up and then I rest. I'll get caught up and then I rest. But then you get caught up in other things. You get caught up in other things, other dramas. Um, and then you end up getting in this place of, okay, I quit. And then that's when you shut down. And that's when you say, oh, I rest. Oh, I make sure to rest. No, you're shutting down. There's a difference. There's a difference. Okay. The next one is stop beating up on yourself. Curb the urge to overwork and then stop beating up on yourself. Your worth is not tied to your productivity. It is not. Let me say that again. Your work is not tied to your productivity. It is not. You can be sitting on a couch like this, sitting here doing absolutely nothing, and your worth is still untouched. So do be careful when we're curbing the urge to overwork and we're stopping ourselves from beating up on ourselves. We need to find ourselves in a place where we detach our worth from the work. They're not synonymous, okay? So this next thing is, now that we have practiced being empathetic to ourselves and acting on it, then we're going to go to the next step, which is, again, in that overarching umbrella of emotional intelligence. Now that we can identify what's going on here, then we're going to be able to be open. And the practice is to then show empathy to others. Like I said, when we first started, you know, haven't you been dealing with somebody that get on your nerve, whether it's a contractor, someone that, is a vendor, whatever the situation may be, your team, your upper management, your government leader, say you work in government and it's a direct correlation between what's going on in politics and what's going on in the workspace. You have to take some steps forward, even though you want to back up, take some steps forward towards self-compassion. And I know sometimes it seems hard. I know it seems hard sometimes, but let's face it, empathy is not the norm in the workplace. And that's why it takes an extra effort to then be empathetic in the workspace, I'll say, in the workspace, because the workspace can be in your corner office at your house. It can be in that, offsite meeting room or in the brick and mortar office space that you may go in a hybrid way or otherwise. I just want to be clear. And so here are a few tips to how you can make empathy a part of your normal way of dealing with people. And again, this is after you've learned how to do it for yourself. Fuel up first, understand yourself first. And then we're going to get to the point where, one, we can build friendships with the people that you like at work. Most people can rattle off at least a dozen reasons why you shouldn't be friends with people at work. Hear me out, okay? But the belief is that when you have real connections with people, we're talking about real and appropriate workplace professional relationships with people. One of the longest studies as it pertains to human development tells us that when we do that, we experience more well being and happiness there. Think about it. When you get off work and you're connecting with your real friends, there's a happiness there. There is a fill up of excitement and joy and just wellness there. Um, Caring for and feeling cared for by others also lowers our blood pressure. I'm no MD, but this is what the research tells you. It enhances your immune system and leads to overall better health. So having a real healthy connection, friendship with those that you like at work, um, really helps in so many ways. This next one is value people for who they really are. This can get you out a lot of stressful situations. When you really can just look at the person for who they are, good, indifferent, and otherwise, because I definitely stay away from bad, unless they're like a serial killer, but y'all heard the news. They were a good person. So let me get out of that pocket, because that's not what we're talking about. Those ridiculous situations can actually be better understood if we come from a place of knowing that everybody has a story. Everybody. Everybody. I'm sure that I was once considered an overachiever. Ooh, she's doing all these things. Where'd she come from? I even heard somebody tell me, report back to me. Not that I asked them to, but they felt a need to align with me for whatever reason. I appreciate that. They were like, yeah, they talking about where she come from, how she climbed the ladder this quickly. Well, child, I was burnt out and overworking, and I couldn't stop. So of course, the more you do, the more that gets done. But after a certain point, it went from, ooh, she's able to manage a number of things. Yes, she has a multitasking ability, but y'all know after a while, multitasking, the quality begins to lackluster. Okay? So, how can I understand where this person is coming from is something that you want to ask. You know, listen with an open mind so that you can even gain the person's trust and, you can fix and mend some of these relationships. Another thing is coach people. According to this particular study that was done and highlighted in this chapter, research by Richard Boyatzis. Yeah, that's looking about right. Boyatzis. Boyatzis. Melvin Smith and Alum Beveridge. Coaching others has a positive psychophysiological effect that restores the body's natural healing and growth processes, improves stamina, and that's the truth. That is the truth. When we care enough to invest in the development of others, not only are we in that place of being empathetic and being compassionate to where they are, but we're less occupied with ourselves. Go figure. We're a little less self centered. I won't say selfish, self centered. The next one is put your customers, clients, and or patients at the center of your conversations. This is why when I'm working with my organizations, my businesses that contract me as an organizational development psychologist, we talk about having an open, transparent feedback loop in everything that we do. You get the voice of the customers, you get the voice of the stakeholders, the employees, the leaders. You understand how people are feeling about the changes, feeling about the culture, feeling about the psychological safety, their ability to be themselves in an environment without retribution. Um, all of those things um, in order to make sure that there's not any risk going unknown and brewing in the background, right? So if misaligned goals with coworkers are a source of stress, try physically, this is what it's saying, and I'm reading it verbatim. Try physically moving your conversation to a place where you can put other people's needs at the center. That's basically what I said. You got to understand that unless you work with robots, let me take that back. That is an old saying. We got a lot of AI, and the AI gets to be AI because we're looking at people. We're doing a deep dive into people to help the computers and to program the computers to know how to think like humans. So even then, you can't just avoid human like this human experience. Okay, you cannot avoid it, so why try or why purposely ignore it? But as I said, a caution that you want to take, and we're closing here, a caution that you would want to take is with empathy and compassion that they are such a powerful force to fight against stress that you begin to get into this space of how too much of anything becomes a bad thing, becomes a new challenge. So be careful that you're not falling into this place of compassion fatigue, right? Where you're paying so much attention and giving so much of your energy to understanding and empathizing that it results in it being a burden for you, and then it then turn into stress. Like I said, too much of that, not balancing your checking in with yourself with your checking in with others. But if it's all outward, that becomes a problem. Okay, so just know this: Being in a place of compassion is not only spiritually a fill up, but once you commit to caring about yourself first, you can literally start to care more about others in a very authentic place. Self love first before anybody else. And that's even in intimate partnerships. I do couples therapy in my therapy practice as well. You have to make sure you are whole, that you have your needs met. Maslow hierarchy of needs, plus all the research that has come after that. Okay. Make sure you fill up on compassion today. So, one of the things you can do to fill up on compassion before I leave you, because I got to get off of here, um, one of the things that you can do is I have a link in my bio that is specifically about a new program that I have. It's a new mini course called the 10-Minute Stress Release and Rest Accelerator. Okay. And it is going live Monday, the 25th of July. Okay. Now, because this is a new program, and we have our researchers in place that are, reviewing it and getting things set up to review it now. We are running an introductory rate of only $97. I told y'all before, I'm an organizational development psychologist, as well as a licensed psychotherapist. And I've been in the field for over 17 years. It will not stay $97. Let me just be real. So get in while you can. It is going to be fun. It's a online course, but specifically next week, I'm going to be doing a 3-part live experience with that training to really dig a little bit deeper to those that have the front row seat. And you're welcome. You're welcome to join. You're welcome to click on the link in my bio. If you are watching this on YouTube, if you were to go to the SPC group on my Instagram, the link is there as well. It's just a quick thing. You can also find me on Facebook as well. It's in the SPC group, so THESPC GROUP. That's my handle for all of my socials and in all of those profiles. It might even be in the profile there on YouTube. But either way, you can click the link, and it is the first online course promotional period of $97 for this. It's a 10-part mini series talking about the 10 minutes that I'm going to teach you guys how to release stress and find peace and rest. Go on over there, click the link in the bio. If you haven't already gotten a copy of my ebook, it's called Reigniting Your Mojo. Simple way to reach a point of success in your life. And that's even with succeeding in this fight out of and away from burnout. And I really wanted to focus on motivation because, again, you have to realize that sits inside of you. Motivation is already there. You just got to tap into it. But when you're stressed out, like I said, all the prefrontal cortex executive functioning will, in a lot of ways, trigger something in you that would stop you from acting on the things you need to do. So reach out. Also, let me know in the comments. Let me know if this has been helpful. I will be back tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to be covering the chapter that's specific to, let me see. We're not in the point of the bounce back yet. We are going to cover collaborating without burnout. So whether that's collaborating with another global organization, collaborating with another business, collaborating with other like-minded business owners, collaborating without burnout. You may be already stressed, and it is time for you to start outsourcing, um, doing some work where you are collaborating to help manage your bandwidth and expand it by having others there to support you, like-minded people. And we want to talk about doing that. I do want to say here today now that even though I'm going to say it again tomorrow, is that because we are going live with our 10-minute stress release and rest mini series, the online course series next week, I am going to possibly take a break. I'm going to make a decision. But again, in the essence of preventing burnout, I'm managing my bandwidth, and we may skip next week as far as our HBR guys review, and then pick up the following week, which would be the first week in August. But I will let you guys know for sure. But I also want to help you guys know what to expect of me. Okay? All right, so we'll be back tomorrow, either way, to talk about collaborating without burnout. Okay, so you guys take care. You all have an amazing day. You guys be blessed, stay safe, mask up because news coverage is sort of off and on. So just protect yourself because you don't know what other people have these days. And all of our immune systems are not as strong as it used to be because of how long we were in this isolated state. So our bodies are rebuilding, and for nothing else, regardless of your views, be safe when you are in those crowded spaces, especially when you're indoors. People are still getting sick. And as I have shared before, I have a sensitivity to that because of my medical condition, as well as my father passing because of COVID at the start of all of this mess. So I am very much aware of that. And I want you guys to stay safe and stay blessed. Okay. All right. Love y'all. Take care. Bye.